Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into perhaps the most fundamental question that has haunted humanity since the dawn of consciousness. What is the meaning of life? This isn't just philosophical speculation, it's a question that affects how we wake up each morning, how we make our choices, and how we face our mortality. For millennia, philosophers, theologians, and thinkers from every corner of the world have grappled with this question. But in our increasingly secular world, where traditional narratives have lost their grip on many people's lives, this question takes on a particularly urgent dimension. Are we discovering something that already exists, some universal truth waiting to be unveiled? Or are we the architects of our own meaning, building purpose from the raw materials of experience? Let me take you on a journey through this philosophical landscape, because the answer might be more complex and beautiful than you think. Throughout most of human history, meaning came pre-packaged. Religious traditions, cultural narratives, and social structures provided clear answers about why we exist and what we should do with our lives. Whether it was serving God, honoring ancestors, or fulfilling social roles, individuals found themselves part of a larger story that gave their existence context and purpose. But something fundamental shifted with the advent of modernity. The scientific revolution, the Enlightenment, and eventually what Nietzsche famously called the death of God, began to erode these traditional sources of meaning. Suddenly, the grand narratives that had sustained humanity for thousands of years began to crumble. The universe, as revealed by science, appeared vast, indifferent, and purposeless. This created what we might call the modern predicament. If there's no inherent meaning built into the fabric of reality, if we're just biological accidents on a small planet in an uncaring cosmos, then what's the point of anything? This confrontation between our deep human need for meaning and the apparent meaninglessness of the universe is what philosophers call the absurd. Albert Camus captured this perfectly in his essay, The Myth of Sisyphus. He imagined us like Sisyphus, the figure from Greek mythology condemned to push a boulder up a mountain for eternity, only to watch it roll back down each time he reaches the top. Camus saw this as a metaphor for the human condition. We're always striving, always seeking meaning, but the universe offers no ultimate answers. Now, faced with this absurdity, we have several options. The first is what I call the escape routes. We can retreat into denial, cling desperately to traditional beliefs, even when they no longer feel authentic to us. We can lose ourselves in distractions, endless entertainment, consumption, or busyness that keeps us from confronting the deeper questions. Or we can fall into nihilism, concluding that if nothing has inherent meaning, then nothing matters at all. But there's another path, one that requires more courage but offers more authenticity. The existentialist response. Rather than seeing the absence of pre-given meaning as a tragedy, existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre saw it as the foundation of human freedom. If there's no predetermined essence to human nature, if there's no script we're supposed to follow, then we're radically free to create ourselves. This is where the distinction between discovering and constructing meaning becomes crucial. We're not discovering meaning like archaeologists uncovering ancient artifacts. Instead, we're more like artists or architects, creating meaning through our choices, our values, and our actions. But this freedom comes with a price: responsibility. When Sartre said we're condemned to be free, he meant that we can't escape the burden of choosing who we want to be. Every decision we make, every value we embrace, every relationship we cultivate is a statement about what we believe matters. We become the authors of our own existence. This brings us to one of the most profound voices in this conversation, Viktor Frankl. As a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, Frankl had a unique perspective on human suffering and meaning. In the concentration camps, he observed something remarkable. Those who could find some meaning in their suffering, no matter how small, were more likely to survive than those who couldn't. This led Frankl to develop logotherapy, based on the idea that the primary human drive isn't pleasure or power, but meaning. He identified 3 sources of meaning: creative values, what we give to the world through our work and actions; experiential values, what we take from the world through encounters with truth, beauty, and love; and attitudinal values, the stance we take towards unavoidable
Frankl's insight
suffering.
was revolutionary. We don't find meaning by looking for it directly, like searching for a hidden treasure. Instead, meaning emerges as a byproduct of engaging fully with life, of responding to the demands and opportunities that life presents to us. Think about the moments in your own life when you felt most fulfilled, most alive. I'm willing to bet they weren't moments when you were asking, what's the meaning of life? But moments when you were fully engaged, creating something, connecting with someone, overcoming a challenge, or contributing to something larger than yourself. This suggests that the old debate between discovering and constructing meaning might be based on a false dichotomy. We don't discover meaning like finding a pre-existing object, but we also don't construct it arbitrarily like building with random Lego blocks. Instead, we discover opportunities for meaning-making in our engagement with the world. Every day presents us with countless invitations to create meaning. The way we treat the people around us, the quality of attention we bring to our work, the values we choose to embody in difficult moments. These are all opportunities to weave meaning into the fabric of our existence. This process is deeply personal, but not purely subjective. While there may not be one universal meaning that applies to everyone, there are patterns and principles that seem to generate meaning across cultures and individuals. Love, creativity, service to others, the pursuit of truth and beauty, the cultivation of virtue. These themes appear again and again in human accounts of meaningful life. Consider the Japanese concept of ikigai, often translated as reason for being. It's found at the intersection of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. This isn't about discovering some predetermined purpose, but about creating a life that aligns your passions, talents, and values with the needs of the world around you. The implications of this understanding are profound. It means that the search for meaning isn't a luxury for philosophers or a crisis for the privileged. It's a fundamental human task that we're all engaged in, whether we recognize it or not. Every choice we make is either moving us toward greater authenticity and meaning or away from it. It also means that meaning isn't something we achieve once and then possess forever. It's an ongoing process, a continuous creation. We don't find meaning and then coast on that discovery for the rest of our lives. Instead, we must continually recommit to the values and purposes that animate us, adapting and evolving as we grow and change. This dynamic view of meaning has implications for how we deal with life's inevitable challenges. When we face setbacks, losses, or periods of uncertainty, we're not passive victims waiting for meaning to be restored to us. We're active agents who can choose how to respond, how to learn, how to grow from these experiences. Friedrich Nietzsche, despite being associated with the phrase, "God is dead," was ultimately optimistic about human potential. He believed that the collapse of traditional meaning structures, while initially disorienting, would ultimately free us to become what he called overmen, individuals who create their own values and meaning rather than inheriting them from others. But here's a crucial point. Creating our own meaning doesn't mean we're isolated individuals spinning meaning out of nothing. We create meaning in relationship with other people, with our communities, with traditions that speak to us, with the natural world. Meaning emerges in the spaces between us, in our connections and commitments. This relational aspect of meaning is why service to others, love, and community involvement are such consistent sources of fulfillment. When we contribute to something larger than ourselves, when we help others flourish, when we participate in communities of shared purpose, we're not just creating meaning for ourselves, we're participating in the collective human project of meaning-making. As we near the end of our exploration, let me pose a question that might reframe everything we've discussed. What if the question isn't whether life has meaning, but whether you're willing to live meaningfully? This shifts the focus from metaphysical speculation to practical engagement. It's not about finding the right answer to an abstract question, but about living in a way that embodies your deepest values and aspirations. The existentialist insight is ultimately an invitation to radical authenticity. It asks us to take full ownership of our lives, to stop waiting for meaning to be delivered to us from external sources, and to begin the hard but rewarding work of creating lives that reflect our deepest convictions about what matters. This doesn't mean rejecting all wisdom from the past or ignoring the experiences of others. It means engaging critically and creatively with the resources available to us. Philosophical traditions, spiritual practices, scientific insights, artistic expressions, and synthesizing them into a personally meaningful worldview. The path of meaning-making is demanding because it requires us to face uncertainty without easy answers, to embrace freedom without clear guidelines, and to take responsibility without excuses. But it's also liberating because it means we're not trapped by circumstances, genetics, or past experiences. We always retain the fundamental human capacity to choose our response to whatever life presents us. So, do we build meaning or discover it? Perhaps the most honest answer is that we do both. We discover opportunities for meaning in our engagement with the world, and we build meaning through our responses to those opportunities. We're neither passive recipients of predetermined purpose nor arbitrary creators of subjective fantasy. We're meaning makers, engaged in the ongoing human project of creating lives worth living. The invitation is clear. Stop waiting for life to reveal its meaning to you and start revealing your meaning to life. Through your choices, your values, your relationships, and your contributions, you have the power to create a life of profound significance. The question isn't whether your life has meaning. The question is what meaning you'll give it. Thank you for joining me on this philosophical journey. I hope it's given you some new perspectives to consider as you navigate your own path toward a meaningful life. What resonates most with you from today's discussion? How do you approach the question of meaning in your own life? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.